We're ready. So tonight we've got a lot of things we were going to talk. We're going to take the narcissistic personality index. What we're going to do, and I've got some stuff about. I almost feel like I have a warm up that's super nerdy psychology stuff. Do you want that?
You are so on a great energy.
I'm pumped.
I'm so like.
Okay.
I feel like I haven't slept in 30 years. Woo! Woo!
I will carry you, Sydney. I will carry you.
Thanks.
I want you to know, Sydney and I. This is my daughter, Sydney. I am Tony. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist, podcast host. Dad, are you her dad? Okay, Dave, you watch it now. We will have moderators here. And Ben said, I feel heard. Yeah, so I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. Sydney is my daughter, and your credentials are. She's awesome. That is, and there's no one that I would rather have failed 3 times with our live than you.
Ask me what my credentials are.
I was doing it for the viewers.
Wow.
Yeah, but Sydney's a co-host of We've Done Murder on the Couch, and then she is here to provide real. You kind of help me with the old what the kids say these days.
I'm only here to spread misinformation and lies today.
Let me ask you a question though, because I got up this morning to work out, and you came in at. It was 6 a.m. and you were actually giddy at that point. And you mentioned earlier you haven't slept in a little while.
Yeah, I'm like fully crashing, but I'm not. I'm like trying to pull off your energy right now.
I have so much extra energy right now.
Dude, I feel like, where did that come from?
I feel like I'm in puppy mode right now. Hey, look at this. So what is it? And I won't give the person the credit, but someone right now is wanting to join the live.
One time we should just let them join and see what they do.
Yeah. Okay. We should do that one time.
Remember when you did that on accident?
So fun story is when we first started doing the live Q&As, I was just pressing buttons like an old man does.
You were still just pressing buttons.
Yeah. And I was just pressing buttons, and all of a sudden there were some people that just popped on there, and they had no idea who we were. I had no idea who they were. And we just kind of looked at each other for a while, and then we let them go. Mountain Drew, let's start right off here. So get your questions in. Carol, are you two a couple? We are a couple from a family. I'm her dad. I'm your dad, and you're my daughter.
Look alike at all?
I don't know. I don't think we do.
So either, but I think someone told me when I was younger that I looked like you, and in my head I was just like, oh, so I look like a man. Thanks.
I was gonna say, I don't know if that's a good thing or not.
I just called you a man. That's such a compliment for guys, isn't it?
Okay, but Mountain Drew said, what made you want to gain wisdom in the psychology field? And I think that's a great question, because I spent 10 years in the computer software industry. And wait, look at this. This is disinterested right there, as you can see.
Me?
I just watched you kind of look over away.
Dude,
you need to be hanging on my every word.
I'm in my REM right now. I'm literally like asleep. I just found my phone.
Okay. Yeah.
I lost my phone for hours today.
Yeah.
You guys, I went grocery shopping the other day.
Mackie's coming, John.
I lost my phone while I was grocery shopping, and the store was about to close. And so I was like going around the store, like rummaging through the shelves. Like I literally looked like I was robbing them, and it was so
trying to
awkward.
Find your phone.
Yes.
Today, when you were trying to find your phone, I saw you look in the freezer. I saw you look in the pantry.
Dude, you never know. Like, you never know where it could just fall.
You really don't. But I think what is interesting is I did 10 years in the computer software industry, and being a therapist was what I wanted to do. And I mentioned that because I think a lot of times we just don't know what we don't know about what something could be like if you go after something that you really enjoy. So when I was in the computer software industry, I just thought, okay, this is the thing where you just go to work and you punch the clock and you get through it and you live for the nights and the weekends. But then the nights and the weekends, you're kind of exhausted because you just had to grind through the day. And then the career change of becoming a therapist has been amazing. I've been doing it for 20 years.
Did you ever want to be a computer guy?
No.
Why did you start doing it?
Well, so when I got out of college, you just start interviewing for jobs. And what's funny is I literally had I have my bachelor's degrees in mass communications, and my interviews, I've never really talked about this, but not like it's a dramatic, here comes the hot take. My first interview was to be the PR director for a bowling alley. Like that. I mean, it would have been a fun time. And I interviewed with
our own bowling alley.
I know, right? And I interviewed with a soft drink company, the opposite of Pepsi, and for a job there. And then what was really funny is
what do you mean a soft drink, the opposite?
Coca-Cola.
Are you not allowed to say it?
No, I mean, I guess I could. Yeah. And then, but it wasn't like I was getting all these job offers and I wasn't sure. No, even the bowling alley said, I don't think so.
The bowling alley didn't even want you?
Yeah. And then at that.
If I was the bowling alley guy, I would have hired you.
I appreciate that. And then the job that I also almost took a job in selling, there's a nicer way to say it, but it's corrugated material.
Oh.
For real, boxes. And then I interviewed to do like something with an auto parts chain, and again, didn't get any of those. And then my brother-in-law Nate offered me a job with his software company, and that's what brought us out to California. Loaded up the truck, moved to Beverly Hills.
That was not Beverly Hills.
No, that's a reference to an old show that you probably never heard of.
What show?
Man, if anybody knows what the reference is so I loaded up the truck and moved to Beverly. I wish I could give somebody something, but if somebody,
people in the chat are not prehistoric,
somebody will know this one. Somebody's gonna say it. They Beverly Hillbillies, John, for the win.
Hey,
John, I'm being dead serious, John. If you will send me a direct message of your address, then I will get some virtual couch. I'll get you something, a hat, a shirt, something like that. Beverly Hillbillies. Where
is that going?
Go to his house. But let me first to start off with a little bit of I think this is really interesting, and then we're going to get to the narcissistic personality index, and then please send your questions in. We've got Wendy, who is managing the questions, and Mackie's popping on to do the moderator stuff. But so I think this is really interesting. It's called relational frame theory, and I always I talk about this often where something becomes in our relational frame. So if you're not very happy in your relationship and you pull up to your house, and then as you're pulling up to your house, you just kind of have this sinking feeling, then what you start to do is you form this relationship with pulling up to your house and having a negative feeling.
Oh,
okay. Talk about that.
It's something really dark.
Oh.
Like I feel like I get that like right when I wake up.
Oh. But I mean, well, honestly though, we can talk about that too.
Like like a lot of times I get pretty much, I get like anxiety right when I wake up, like every single morning. So it's like I have to get in the habit of being like, this is routine. Like,
yeah.
It doesn't mean
well, I love that you brought that up, because actually if you can get up and have a morning routine, that is what your brain will then just anticipate. This is what we do, rather than, oh my gosh, what are we going to do today? And there's a book called, I want to say it's Miracle Morning. And it just talks about these 5 areas, and I don't remember what they are, all 5 of them, but it's stuff like, do some meditation, do some writing, do some exercise. There's a couple other things, maybe do the tango, I don't know, do a dance. But if you do those things every morning when you wake up, then you don't wake up with as much anxiety, because when you wake up, your brain just says, this is what we do.
Give me the list.
I know, right? Well, this is why. So I've gotten up and exercised for 25 years of my life. And it's the point where then the night before, I'm like a little kid laying out his clothes for the first day of school, where I lay out my workout clothes. And then so when you just wake up, you robotically just go and do.
I should start trying to work out in the morning. I just when I wake up, my body does not want to move like that. At all.
Yeah.
But I feel like that could be good, because part of my anxiety is, I don't know if it, like my anxiety feels like I have to like run around, but I can't, I don't know. Do you ever have anxiety? You never talk about, have you experienced it?
Yeah. No, I do. But this is the part where, honestly, that's funny. I do the interviewing, on my podcast. I don't think I've even been asked that before.
Get used to it.
So no, I do, but I
can't speak right now. I'm like, so sorry. I'm literally interrupting you. I'm not very good at this.
Yeah, you're a great interviewer.
Go for it.
No, I do not. I do get anxiety, but I don't think that it is. I know that it's not as crippling as it can be for most. I get a lot of self-doubt though. I have a lot of imposter syndrome where.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've got 400 and something episodes of The Virtual Couch, 100 and something of Waking Up to Narcissism. We've got the followers on TikTok. I love doing this stuff, but there is that part. Imposter syndrome is this, what if tomorrow nobody wants to see me as a therapist? Nobody listens to the podcast, and they all figure out that this guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
Oh.
Isn't that wild? So that causes me a little bit of self-doubt, which I think starts to bring on some anxiety. But then that's one where I notice that I am thinking that it is a thought. I have lots of other thoughts, and then just continue to do. And I think that's why I talk about that so often. I guess I've never looked at that as because it works for me, so I can speak well to that.
Yeah.
But I know that we only know what's going on for us. And so I don't know what's your anxiety like? What does it feel like?
Ooh.
Yeah.
She's not cute.
She's not cute. Oh, does she have a name?
No.
I mean, that's
does not deserve that.
Okay.
Dude, okay, well, apparently there's that thing, right, where you're
personifying
supposed to,
it. Yeah.
Like, I was going to say, like, treat it like a friend or something.
Absolutely.
I feel like that actually does help, like, as stupid as it feels when you're doing it. Like, it actually does feel so dumb, but...
It does. There's a thing called narrative therapy, and it's where you externalize the problem. And so when I talk about people that are struggling with addiction or unhealthy coping mechanism, like turning to pornography. See, I said corn. I know, because I know how the game is played here, that as an unhealthy coping mechanism, then let's say that you personify it, you give it a name. I like alliteration. So I'll have clients call it Peter, for example. And so then it's like, well, when does Peter come over? Peter comes over when I'm feeling hungry, angry, lonely, tired, when nobody else is in the home. So then you can start to identify the patterns of when your anxiety, Andy, your depression, Dave, that sort of thing. It does feel a little silly at first.
And I feel like I used to like enjoy berating my anxiety. Like my anxiety would come up and I'd be like, I hate you, go away, you're not real.
Right.
And I feel like that kind of instills anger in your mind, and it makes you uncomfortable, even if it kind of does work.
Yeah, no,
so I feel like it does help to just put out the positive.
Well, and one of the first questions we got, Tim Smith 850 says RFT is the foundation of ACT. Are you familiar with ACT? And Tim, ACT changed my whole life as a therapist a decade ago when I learned about it.
You gave me a book about that.
I did, yeah. The Happiness Trap is one of the best ones. But so Tim, I love that and I'll talk about RFT here in a second because it's amazing. But ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy, I think it's the best therapy model out there. And there's a book called The Happiness Trap. And it's a really easy read. They even have a cartoon version of it, a comic version.
The one
I got it for you, right? By Russ Harris. And it is so good. But where are we going with that? Oh, this is that concept in ACT of acceptance. So if you are trying to get rid of your anxiety, you're focused so much on your anxiety that it makes it even a bigger issue. So the acceptance is like, oh, I'm accepting the fact that I have anxiety. So I'm still going to go do things, but but there's also anxiety is going to come up.
Yeah.
Like that's a big help.
And it helps me to compare it like to my ADHD. Like I know that there's no part of me when my phone is on the ceiling that can just like snap my fingers and make my ADHD go away. So why am I trying to do that with my anxiety?
That's a good point. Yeah. So acceptance is huge. So let me talk about because Tim had mentioned the relational frame theory. So it sounds really nerdy, but I think this is really interesting. So it's RFT, relational frame theories. It's a way to help understand how we think and feel as humans and how language shapes our experience. And I think this is really interesting. So if I'm going to compare a dime and a nickel to you, which one is?
Penny, nickel, dime. Do you remember that?
No, what's that?
I don't know. It's like penny, nickel, dime, penny, nickel, dime, nickel. I'm delusional right now. Okay?
I think you're kind of a fun hang. So, well, which one is better, the nickel or the dime?
You're telling me to do math right now?
Maybe this is not the time.
The nickel. Wait, the dime. I was actually being serious. That's so sad.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, okay.
The dime is better.
Why?
Because it has more money.
Okay, because it's worth more. But what's interesting is if you give a little kid, if you show them a nickel and a dime, which one do you think that they would choose?
I don't know. They're dumb. They don't even know it's money.
Absolutely. So then they're just going to see the nickel is bigger than the dime. So then the nickel must be better. So what relational frame theory talks about is that we know that the dime is worth more than the nickel, even though the dime is smaller. And how do you learn that? It's from the meaning or the value that we place on something through language.
Okay.
And so that gets kind of deep. I mean, the relational frame theory says that animals and young kids might just see the nickel just by its size. So they think it's better than the dime. But as you grow and learn and you start to think about things in more complex ways, like their monetary value, then we're unique as humans in our ability to relate objects, not just by their size, but what the meaning is. But then who gives it meaning?
Only you do.
Totally.
That's what I think it gets interesting there, because it is kind of like cool to think like we all have our own meaning.
Exactly.
Like we're the only people who get
truly what we think.
Yeah. Thanks for finishing my sentence, because I had no idea.
But this is why that relational frame theory actually is really crazy, because it's what makes us think, but it's also what makes us unhappy. And I'll tell you why. So picture that if you buy clothes that don't fit, then you can return them and get a different size. I mean, and stay with me here. Or if you're painting, like we painted this wall, if all of a sudden I don't like that color, I will paint it a different color. And so, but here's where things get tricky though, with your thoughts and your feelings. It doesn't work that way. So if you then don't like the way that you feel, you're feeling sad or anxious, then you might try to just push those feelings away or ignore them. I'm just going to fix it. I'm just going to have a different thought. I'm just going to have a different feeling. And so that we hope that they'll go away, like buying a new shirt or painting the wall. Do you see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
And that's what's so fascinating. If you really look at the concept there, is that research shows that the more that we try to ignore or push things away, our thoughts and feelings, then the stronger they get.
Yeah, because you're not really ever pushing it away. You're kind of just like not being true to yourself.
Yeah.
Like you're not acknowledging your actual feelings,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. So, but you see that like the correlation there is such a trip. So if I don't like something I bought or something I've done, I will do something else, or I'll return it, or I'll buy something else.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't like the way I feel, then I think that same thing. Well, I'll take on another thought, or I'll get rid of this thought. So I can't just get rid of it like a old shirt, or I can't just change it like what's something I would change. I was gonna say a hairstyle, but that is not a thing for me.
Your pants after you farted last episode.
I'd never. We're gonna go back to that every single time. Go watch the clip, and I didn't fart. I really didn't. Okay, so but if you feel nervous, so now take that whole relational frame theory, and if you feel nervous about talking to people, and then you might avoid a social situation because you want to avoid anxiety. You might feel better at first, but over time you miss out on fun experiences, and then your fear of the social situations will grow, and you'll start to think, what's wrong with me? And then it's like, well, I want to go do something, but then that makes me anxious, but I don't really like feeling anxious, so I'm not going to do it. But that makes me feel better right now, and then I'll tell myself I'll do it later, I'll do it next time, and then that makes me feel better about, okay, well, no, I'll do it next time,
temporarily.
Totally. And so you're living this life of just like, I'm just jumping from one moment to the next just to alleviate my anxiety.
Yeah. And the reality is like, you're gonna have the anxiety no matter what. Might as well have it somewhere fun, doing something.
I like Jesse saying that's exactly how I feel. Yeah. I mean, so that's that. And so then if you can just accept the fact that I'm going to feel anxious or I'm going to feel disappointed, then I'm going to go do things. And then I'm going to have these other experiences as well as having some anxiety, or I might also have some disappointment. And I'll tell you, tonight was fascinating for people joining us now. We did 3 different attempts at live, and they didn't work.
We were talking to the abyss.
Yeah. And it really, that I did notice I was starting to kook out a little bit. Didn't you think? Or from what you know about me?
I mean, I guess, I don't know.
I was kind of like, ooh. Yeah, it's kind of funny. So that relational frame theory stuff, though, I think is just interesting because our thinking helps us solve a lot of different problems outside, like things that we can do, but it makes our inner problems worse when we try to handle our thoughts and our feelings the same way. So instead of solving the internal issues, we got to learn to accept them. And that's a big piece. And then we find better ways to cope. And I think that's a huge part.
And like try to like understand maybe why you're feeling something instead of just trying to push it away.
Yeah.
Like, where is that like coming from?
Totally. That's yes.
And sometimes like, I feel like you have to like address something like a few steps behind what you think you need to address. And then it like settles the water.
No, I honestly said, so with clients, I'll talk often about once you can accept and not try to get rid of a thought or a feeling, then I always say you can back up the game film, and you start to see like when I was talking about people that struggle with addictions or unhealthy coping mechanisms, that they just say, well, what's that?
Don't need to call it out. Had to be subtle.
We haven't done an update though on the hitting the dome.
No hitting the dome, you guys. Okay. I do have a Xenon right now, but it's 3 milligrams, not 6.
Okay, and then you haven't vaped since January 1?
Yeah, and honestly, I don't even miss it anymore.
Don't you really?
Like, I remember when I'd come on these lives and I'd be like, oh my God, I want to dope so bad.
Right.
Okay. I don't really anymore.
Don't think about it? Are there times though? So like this would be one where, okay, and sometimes the relational frame stuff is that too. Like I had a client once that had been, he was an alcoholic. He was in recovery for 20 years. And then he said, I went in a Mexican restaurant on a Sunday. There was a football game on. And he said, and I just craved a drink like I never have before. Because that was where he used to drink the most. So do you have situations where what are those situations?
Just every other day. Like not literally.
But is it like places you go or?
Yeah, like going to Coachella was kind of hard because they were everywhere. Yeah, everyone was like girlies would just be offering it, and then it's just like so hard to say no, but I really do feel like it's gotten a lot easier. And yeah, I mean, it's not as hard as, no, honestly, it was terrible, but
it was tough at first, right?
Whenever I feel like this is so true though, like whenever I do have a really intense craving, like probably what that guy was talking about, it will go away in like 5 to 10 minutes. It's just so hard to like accept.
But that right there, that is this sitting with discomfort. We are wired to get rid of discomfort. And how do you get rid of discomfort? Hit that dome.
Yeah.
Am I saying it right?
Pop that Zen.
Pop that Zen. Like you really pop it?
No.
Okay. Mary Edelip love this dad. He's so calm with her. Thank you. Because I love this. She's awesome.
I feel like I'm being calm with him right now.
Wait, why do you want to like say something? Do you want to say something mean?
No, your energy is great right now.
Okay, I feel like what Mackie calls it puppy mode sometimes.
No, it's good.
Well, because
we need someone to be in that mode.
I'm
because
there. Okay, anonymous book purchased. Happiness Trap.
There.
Yes, Happiness Trap is so good. Happiness Trap is, man, we'll talk about that sometime too. Why it can be so difficult to be happy, because it seems like we're talking about mental health more, and we should be happier and that sort of thing. Okay, all right, Mary Adlip. Is it easier to leave a toxic relationship after being in therapy for a while? So my thought as a therapist, and I'm not just trying to give people reasons to go because
bias. You're
a little bias. It would be though, but it's like, yes, because here's why I think so, is because when somebody's in a toxic relationship and they're asking just their friends or they're just kind of keeping things in their head. I think a lot of times friends want to play the role of what I call Switzerland friends, where they're saying, well, I mean, you both play a role in this, or you got to think of what this is like for him as well. And so that will cause you to question your own thoughts and your own feelings. Or I also think it's interesting when you ask a friend for advice, if you really break it down, it's not that we shouldn't be asking people for advice, but if I just all of a sudden ask you for advice for something that I've been thinking about for a long time, and now all of a sudden I'm putting you on the spot to give me your opinion, and I'm looking for you to validate me, then all of a sudden I put so much of my worth on what you say.
And I don't know.
You don't know.
I have no there's no realm in my mind that could give you the right answer, because you're the only person.
Yeah. This is a thing where I joked about this at one point, but someone, a nephew of mine, a cousin of yours, said to a group of us, hey, what do you guys think about me going to Turkey to get hair transplants? And I just thought that was a funny one, because you had never even, you weren't with us that night, right? Okay, so the other people in the room.
I'll get a boob job.
Okay, now. But the person and the other people in the room were like, well, why would you want to do that and whatever? And so then you could even see his energy start to go like, wow, yeah. And I just said, okay, you're going to Turkey to get hair transplants. So you've obviously looked at this. And then even said he'd watched a bunch of YouTube videos about it. He had looked up the places to stay. I saw how much it cost. So in that scenario, he's wanting validation. But then he's like throwing that out there to people that haven't thought about it ever. And now he's putting a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not credence. He's putting a lot of credit. He's putting a lot of importance. He's putting a lot of 3
words bouncing around my head right now.
Same, right? He's putting a lot of, hey, Hannah. there's my energy. Oh, and Joe, remember my 24-hour runs. Joe. All right. That's an OG right there. Yeah.
Me and kind of what you're talking about, me and Hannah were literally just talking about, we're kind of guilty, like whenever we have a problem with men, we kind of just like tell each other to break up with them.
Okay.
Like instantly. Because that's how I see like Hannah, she's like my best like friend. Obviously I'm gonna be like, leave him now.
Validation.
But
yes. Yeah.
That's not how every situation is.
Yeah. Okay. I love this. A couple people, who's that? Latanya, validating. Yes, they're looking for validation. And so like with this person that was saying, I want to go to Turkey, you're going to Turkey. And so you just want validation. So I oftentimes think that it's nice when somebody just says, hey, I've been thinking about this a lot and I'm looking for validation right now. Or if I want to say, can you play devil's advocate, but knowing that if I'm aware that that's what I'm asking somebody to do, then the devil's advocate vibe is so that I can just kind of check all the reasons that I've already thought of. But if I'm really wanting validation, then I need to be comfortable that that is what I'm looking for. Because if somebody then just says, I don't think you should do it, then all of a sudden we think, man, you're right. That's giving that person too much power.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, can you answer this one right here, Sid? That's a big one.
What one?
Anonymous, hold up. How'd you stop vaping? 2 of my 3 kids vape.
Oh my gosh.
This is real.
It was honestly like really hard. I'm trying to think like what
I know, because you just came to me and said you were just doing it, but you had tried to stop.
I had tried to quit so long before, like I think you guys even like knew.
Yeah, I didn't even know you did.
Yeah, no, I was doing it for a while.
Actually, I did know.
Really?
Well, I would find this stuff in the Jeep, the vaping devices. Yeah.
No, yeah. One time, Mom cleaned my room, and I had a bunch of dead vapes in there.
Dead soldiers? Would you call them that?
I don't even know if she remembers this. She color coordinated them. My dead vapes. And I was like, wow, we just got a lot closer, Mom.
Okay, Wendy, comment on the, Wendy.
She's like, I didn't do that.
Yeah, or did she just think, they were decorative vases, right?
She's like,
they were oil diffusers. Yeah, exactly, right?
I thought those were chapstick.
There's a part of me for a second that thought that though. She's saying ha ha ha, just trying.
Oh, that's so
just
cute.
Trying to show.
I guess let's wait till it goes. I guess like my advice that I could give, especially if it's like your kids, like it did help. It helped when my mom wasn't like so against me. It helps when like you're on the same team as your parents. But I know that's hard if the kid's not there. And honestly, that's the thing. It's like you guys could have never gotten me to quit. It was when I wanted to quit. Totally. That's like the honest truth. Yeah, honestly, if you guys would have like ripped it out of my mouth, it would have just made me want it more.
Yeah. And I think we haven't talked about this in a while, but I think that's the part where I really, and so Wendy said, just trying to show my love and wanting her to know I wasn't judging her. And so this is, I want to look into the camera. Okay, all parents. I believe strongly that it is a you issue. And I mean that with love, is that if I want them to stop, that's okay. I want them to stop, but that's a me issue. Do they want to stop? And if they want to stop, then what better situation than to be able to go and say, hey, can I help you with anything? And if you really felt safe, then it's saying, okay, yeah, can you take this from me, or can I just hang out with you? Or I remember when I started working with people that are struggling with coping mechanisms and addictions, where I had a guy that was 19 or 20 and he was trying to stop doing something. And he literally had a bag of Uno cards. We did this. We got his mom on board with this. And when he wanted to have act out, relapse, then he just walked in with the Uno cards. No questions were asked. It didn't matter if it was midnight, 2 a.m, whatever. And they would just start playing Uno.
That's so
I know, it was great. It really was, right? So I mean, that's the thing where
I'd be so angry playing Uno the whole time.
And then all of a sudden, if like the parent, you have to let them win. Then like if I got to draw 4, am I like, dang it, sorry, because then all of a sudden you're so anxious, like I gotta go hit that dome, right?
Yeah. It's hard in moments like there would be so many moments where I would just feel like I needed it because I was so used to doing it. It was like the period at the end of a sentence for me, which is so embarrassing. But like before I any time I got in my car, getting out of my car at a stoplight, so it is just like getting that habit out of your head. But it doesn't really happen to me anymore. Like I kind of, even like today at a stoplight, I definitely was like, wow, I used to be hitting vape now.
Well, I also noticed you did a lot of, honestly, you did ring pops and
dude. Okay. So I talked so much. Right? Yeah. I talked so much crap about that before. Cause everyone was like, have a baby bottle pop and your nicotine addiction will go away. And I was like, you guys are insane. Like I want a cigarette. What are you talking about? But I finally understand it now. Cause like when I was looking at it back then, it was like, I'm addicted to nicotine and you're telling me to suck on a lollipop. But now
doesn't seem to go together.
I like over time, I like kind of changed. Okay, I don't even know what I'm saying. I like changed myself from getting dopamine from the domes to like getting it from the ring pops.
Yeah, it's
it was like enough. It was so weird.
Well, it's called the harm reduction model. And it's really fascinating because I use that even with the people that are struggling with corn. That it's, I mean, if you really are being honest about the way to overcome something, the all or nothing is a really difficult way to go. I mean, it works for some people, but for others, they're gonna try to overcome something, but then they're human and they're gonna have a setback. And then typically they then beat themselves up and say, okay, well, I guess that it's not gonna work for me. But in reality, you start to put together days or hours or minutes, whatever it is, of not turning to whatever the unhealthy coping mechanism is. But then if you have to start, it's just the same thing of doing the 6 milligrams to the 3 milligrams, or because I mean, people do that with vape, or people that are smoking sometimes go from 20 cigarettes to 10 to 5.
Yeah. And just know that you're going to relapse unless you're better than me. But like,
well, I mean, that's what's
it's like a part of recovery, I feel like.
Well, the real therapist in me says that's what I'm used to dealing with. And then people, though, they feel so ashamed, and that shame is what just drives people.
Shame is what makes you want to hit it more, though. You you have to just like kill that off if you can.
So, and honestly, I go back to even the person that was asking about going to therapy. This is why I enjoy being a therapist, because you want to be that one safe place where somebody can say, okay, I'm telling everybody I'm good, but I'm not. I'm really struggling, or I had a setback this week, or because I really think that it's nice having an accountability partner, but it is until it isn't, because I've had plenty of people that even their accountability partner at some point just says, okay, well, you obviously don't want it. You must not want to quit because you keep relapsing. And I just think there's the shame,
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
it gets messy when there's like other people, like relationships involved too. I'm lucky that I didn't have anybody around me while I was like going through like the withdrawals and stuff too, because I feel like I was really cranky. I probably just took it all out on you.
I was good with it though. I was about to say, when you're saying I didn't have anybody there, I mean, that part of me though, that breaks my heart to think that people think that they have to isolate when they're trying to overcome a negative coping mechanism.
It's true.
Because that isolation again is what drives people to want to act out, relapse. And what's the phrase? It's like something about somebody likes to say the opposite of addiction is connection. I think that's it anyway, but if you can find a group of people that will accept you as you are, imperfect.
We'll see about that.
Yeah. I am here, Sid. Hug?
No.
Okay. Try again later. Okay. So here's LaTanya, how do you comfort a child that's trying to mock the emotionally immature person in every aspect? I have a child that comes home and wants to mock what they hear and see from the other parent. How do you become a parent that's supportive in those moments? This is such a good question. I think it goes back to what Sydney was talking about with if we would have opposed you, if we would have given you pushback, then it would have just given you reason to hate us more or to do whatever you were doing. And this is where the concept about differentiation, LaTanya, is such a key here, which is we have this desire to maintain connection with somebody while also becoming independent and autonomous. And those two don't seem to go together. And so when you really look at it, it's what do we do to get rid of our discomfort? And that's what, when somebody's hitting the dome, when they're relapsing, they feel bad. And to get rid of that bad feeling, they turn to the coping mechanism, whether it's phone, vaping. Yeah.
Don't you think she's more worried about like her child's like future?
Yeah.
Like it's not about her discomfort.
Well, that is though. I mean, so I love that you said that. So she's worried that if her child mocks the other parent, that then her child is going to be, I mean, I'm guessing, I don't know, LaTanya, but then, you know, when I see people say, yeah, but I don't want them to end up being a derelict. I don't want them to end up, you know, having to go the hard route. I don't want them. And that's like, and it sounds, and it really is coming from a good place, but I don't want them to have pain and suffering because that makes me feel bad. So I need them to stop what they're doing to make me feel better. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So then if somebody's talking, if they're going in there mocking the parent, then the best thing the parent can do is manage their reaction, you know, and just know that comes from a place of that kid feels bad about what they have done. So if they can get the parent to react and act and get angry, then the kid easily gets to say, okay, well, you're mean. You don't care about me. I'm going to leave. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden the parent's like, what just happened?
Yeah. So I guess it's just like a lead by example and like by your actions kind of thing, right?
I mean, it really is, but I'm not saying it's easy. I mean, your kids honestly can push your buttons because they know the right buttons to push. But when I say that it's on the parent, and I'm saying that from a bless your heart, I mean, having 4 kids that are now adults, it's not like we did it perfectly, but it is a me issue if I'm going to react.
Does she also, don't you think she has a right to go to her partner about that too, maybe, and be like, don't act like that around, you know?
Guys, we're getting in and out. What time are you done and what do you want?
I want a root beer.
Root beer. I would like a cheeseburger with no onion. And I don't know if I got well done fries last time. They're like chips. I'll go regular fries. But we're going to go at least another, 30 minutes? Mm-hmm. Okay, another 30 minutes.
I'm going.
Okay, but how a mental damaged human could be a therapist. Thanks. How a mental damaged human could be a therapist. Tanya, you're a cool therapist. Okay. A lot of times when my parents tried to love me, it came off as controlling. I rebelled. Yeah, Mikey, for sure, right? Or
maybe she meant how could a mentally damaged human become a therapist? I feel like that makes you better at it because you got to be damaged to be a good therapist. What's so
fascinating is when people come into my office, it's because they're at a point where they're at their wits' end and they don't know what else to do. And so then they are either going in there looking for validation. You know, this is what I did to my kid, and can you believe it? And then, or they're almost sometimes looking to say, this is how broken I am. See, I had another relapse and another relapse. And that one is like, well, a good therapist is saying, oh, I'm still here. I mean, let's figure out why another relapse, even though you have some new tools. And that's the part where somebody can feel so broken that they just want to just say, no, if I can convince everybody that I am, then I can really I can just kind of check out and go back to addictive behaviors. That's why people need a safe place to land. They need somebody that is going to say, okay, what happened this week? You know, what was that like? Did that answer that question? Let's see.
I don't even remember what the question was.
Okay, but what I like though, you asked a really good question about shouldn't she be able to go to her partner? Like, so let's say that one of the parents is working on their reactions. They're becoming differentiated. They're recognizing this is a me issue. They're seeing the pain in their child, and it really breaks their heart. And they're realizing, okay, I want to control them because I care about them, but I need to be able to sit with that discomfort, and I need to be able to be curious and to say, hey, I'm here. Tell me more. I mean, so that part. But if the other parent is saying, you will not mock me and you will give me respect and that sort of thing, that is the challenge, is that those are the couples that I think I get in for couples therapy, because, you know, now they have their issue. And if the kid can actually pit the parents against each other, it has that same reaction where now the kid still gets to say, you guys don't care about me. And, you know, so the parents really need some help there. And having so I like this tap out method, which is if one of the parents is becoming emotionally overwhelmed, that the other parent has to be able to go and just put their hand on their shoulder or and say, hey, I'll take it from here. And you have to trust that your spouse is
raising children like we're in the WWE.
Oh, I never thought of it that way. It's like, let me tell you something, you know, when they're starting to do that. But that really works. And I mean, I think Mom and I probably did that a few times, where she came in and she's like, hey, I'll take it right now. But if she was saying that, that means I was already upset. And it is hard to then just, okay, I'm going to walk away, but I'm obviously missing something. There's something I'm not seeing here. And then that parent goes into another room, and then the other parent maybe calms the situation down, and then the two of you talk, but not in front of the kid, because then they get to see the buttons, that your buttons get pushed. Let's see. Addictions and the eating disorders. I know I'm missing some stuff in here. I think he's like once a week. But somebody asked about emotional eating. They said, I have ADHD. Oh, Valerie, I have ADHD and anxiety, and I chew on food or eat to deal with my. And here's the thing where I will talk big about the things that I feel comfortable talking about. So narcissism, emotional immaturity, ADHD, validation, couples therapy, anxiety, depression. But when it comes to eating related issues, I know that I don't have the background or the training for that. So when you talk about emotional,
I have no background or training, but I have experience.
Well, we've never really talked about this though, right? Oh, wait, she blew. They blew up the question about what we want to in and out, so maybe they didn't hear us.
Just
cheeseburger, no onions, French fries, root beer, and we're done in 30 minutes. And thank you so much. Okay.
Thanks, Queen.
Thank you. But you've never really talked a lot about some of your eating challenges, and that is a part where I have felt like I don't know how to help, and it has made me feel bad. Those are me issues.
It's still like
Sid wants a root beer.
Hard. Just Wendy. Root beer. It's still kind of hard for me. So like I can't even like really give like helpful advice. But yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of girls or just like people like with social media and stuff, like you're kind of bound to have some kind of eating disorder.
Well, it's
so don't feel like you're alone.
Do you mean like because of the comparisons?
Yeah, well, just like our society and just like the beauty standards that we've set for ourselves, like with celebrities and stuff, it's like absolutely impossible to reach, and like that can like make you feel bad about yourself.
It really can. And so I will say, if there's something I want to say when you talk about body positivity, Sid, that's all?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't think about food right now. See, this is great.
Oh, I know a real life example. Tell me more about this, Sydney. Why are
you? Dude, I don't know. I just like, I'm not.
Do you get hungry?
Food person. I get hungry, but then like every single kind of food sounds gross.
Really?
Yes. And then like the trying to figure out something to eat overwhelms me. And then I just don't eat. But then sometimes like I think that it's an ADHD thing. I'll get like stuck on one food and then I'm fed for a week and a half.
I've had rice and lentils and half of an avocado.
You're still going.
Oh, 3 or 4 years now.
Dude, right now my thing that I've been eating this for every meal of every day, and it's microwavable mini pancakes, and they're so good. They take 30 seconds.
But I do have and this is a totally, I have no data to back this up, but just as somebody that's met with thousands of people now over 20 years, that there are certain people that say things like, and I'm not even trying to make a joke, where they'll say, and then I forgot to eat and I was starting to feel lightheaded. And I can honestly say I've never forgotten to eat, like for real. And so I'm constantly kind of thinking about what I'm going to have the next meal. Do you forget to eat?
Yeah, I think it's like an anxiety. Okay, this actually was like a revelation I had a couple weeks ago, was that like, oh my gosh, I'm anxious because I'm starving. Like
food can kick in dopamine. Okay.
I would go through like a cycle in my head where I would be I would get hungry, but then I would get anxious thinking about what I wanted to eat, and then I would be too anxious to eat.
Oh, yeah.
But like now I just like, I know that happens to me every day. So I just like will literally force myself to eat, and I just don't, like, I'll put on my little YouTube show and I won't even think about the food.
Yeah.
And then I feel better like once my stomach is full normally.
So, man, I want to get somebody. I remember when we first started doing these, there was Dr. Robbie. Oh, go ahead.
But then some weeks I'll eat 4 to 5 meals a day. It's the weirdest thing.
Well, what I would love to check out is what I was talking about. I know. Do you remember Dr. Robbie? He's like he's been an addict, and he was on here talking about ADHD. He's a psychiatrist, and I said we would have him on. I really want to have him on, because here's my.
Oh yes. Wait, the guy that I met?
No.
Oh, could have just said yes.
Oh yes, and.
Great,
but the theory that I'm just putting together right now is that if it is an anxiety issue, because when your anxiety spikes, your cortisol levels increase and you're starting to go into that fight or flight mode. And when you're in fight or flight mode, your body does not want to take on calories. I mean, that's why people have stomach issues, bowel issues, because I did have an expert on my podcast a long time ago, Laura, who was a high school classmate of mine who now works for a large hospital in Colorado, and she does therapy there. And she talked about how the body wants to eliminate things when it's going into fight or flight, because it may need to run and leave. So that's why people get tummy aches. And
it's like, why are we eating? We're dying.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's something that we can go try to figure out. I think that would be fun. Oh, Allie's here. Invite Allie to join as a guest. Allie, you're so
I think it says that even if, like, right when she joined.
Does it? Okay. Yeah. Okay, so what I think is interesting is on this same topic then, I know that we didn't quite talk about that, but emotional eating, I think, though, would still fit around the what do I do with my discomfort? And then that does alleviate my discomfort. And I like somebody chimed in there and said that the food provides dopamine, because it does. That's why the sugary things, and that they do give our brain a little hit of dopamine. As a matter of fact, I had a psychiatrist client of mine once talk about why people often, and this is just, I am not a psychiatrist, but would put on weight sometimes when taking an antidepressant, because it becomes a balancing act of their serotonin and their dopamine and their norepinephrine. And so then if they have increased amount of serotonin, then they have lower amounts of dopamine. And then the quickest way to bump up that dopamine is sugary foods. So then people would tend to put on weight at times. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. I overeat and I have ADHD. Okay. That comment just went by. That one's a trip too, because the stimulant medications do suppress your appetite, but that they suppressed mine for a while, and they still kind of do. But part of me feels like, but I overcame that. Not saying that to get a trophy or anything, but it's really fascinating.
Yeah.
Wait, Sid, that's all. She'll get the usual, and you can eat it if you want after. Sounds great.
I guess.
Thank you. Okay. Sarah says, any tips for falling asleep at night? I have anxiety and depression, and I have trouble. And I do have thoughts on this, Sarah, but we're talking to somebody who started the live tonight by saying she's been up for about. Do you have any tips to offer, Sarah?
I don't even remember what it was like to be asleep.
This is so there's a concept called sleep hygiene, and I've done a couple podcasts on this on the virtual couch. You can find those, but I'm not good with it, and that's where I want to just own up to the fact that this is where I feel a bit hypocritical. But I mean, the sleep hygiene is where you don't take your phone to bed. And you know, well, it's interesting though. We talked, I feel like tonight's theme is a bit of that relational frame. So if your bed becomes associated with a place where I watch videos and I don't sleep, then you start to form a relational frame with your bed.
I know that's a real thing.
Yeah.
Because I used to work in my bed.
Yeah.
And it created hell in my mind. Like, I didn't even understand. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm anxious all the time. Don't do your homework in your bed. It's so dumb.
Or are you saying, or don't do your homework? Is that what you're saying?
I also didn't do that.
I was going to say, no, do your homework, kids, stay in school and all that kind of stuff. But the sleep hygiene's real. And I mean, but I don't have that same thing down, but I do really believe that a meditation before bed is an amazing thing. So even if you, let's say that you are going to take your phone into bed and that sort of thing, if you can do a guided meditation before you go to sleep, then you can start to form a relational frame with, when I start to do this, then I go to sleep. Now, I have heard from people that have insomnia that if you are still awake after you try to go to sleep after about 15 or 20 minutes, then it's important to get up and go do something, because you don't want to form that, again, that relationship in your bed as this is the place where I struggle to sleep.
That's an interesting one, because I feel like everyone kind of goes through that, or like a lot of people, like laying in your bed not sleeping, like that's most of my time in my bed.
But then imagine though, if then you made it, if you were pretty intentional, and I'll throw this under the we don't know what we don't know, so I think it's easy to kind of but that if somebody hasn't done it before, because I have suggested that. I haven't had to do that myself, but I have had many clients where I talk about that, and then the buts will be, well, yeah, but what if it's 1 a.m. and I have work tomorrow? Well, then you're getting up at 1 a.m. and you have work tomorrow. But the goal here is that we're trying to get your sleep schedule back, to a good place. And so then if they get up and they start doing things and they get tired, then they go back into the bed, then they do the meditation, and then hopefully fall asleep. I mean, that's the hope.
A little old witch lady one time told me that if you pick what time you want to wake up, like if it's like 7 a.m., you slam your head onto the pillow 7 times, and then you go to sleep, and you wake up at 7 a.m. And it literally worked. Isn't that so weird? It like actually worked.
Till it didn't? I mean, like, does it still work?
Maybe I just forgot about it.
Okay, I love that though, where people, there's a funny thing, I think, where somebody will tell me.
Sounds like some buts, Tony.
Yeah, okay, but you literally just said that you don't sleep and all that stuff.
Let me have this.
Okay. Oh, wow, Sid. That sounds like it really worked and stuff.
It did. Yes. You're literally doubting my witchcraft.
No, I think that is so powerful and stuff.
Wow. I'm putting a hex on you tonight.
Okay. I don't know how I feel about that, because I used to not care about that, but I think that you probably could do that.
Dude, yeah. When I was in middle or high school, do you remember when I literally did like a seance in our living room?
No.
You were there. It was
what did you do?
I went through a bad breakup. It was really bad.
Okay.
And I literally started doing some like voodoo-ish in our...
What did I do? What would you do? What was the seance?
I don't even remember. I think it was like a love spell or something, but apparently that's like really bad to do. Like, I'm pretty sure I have bad karma now.
I think your karma is good, Sid. Okay, let's go to a couple of these. Let's see what I was judging here. Okay, we got the vape. Stop vaping. This Dad's So Calm. We got the book, Relational Frame Theory. Late diagnosis ADHD partner was daughter of a narcissist. Mother stuck in survival. How to help. Oh, that's tough. So I think that one from Ottershop. So their partner got an ADHD diagnosis late in life, and she's a daughter of a narcissist mother, and the mother is stuck, and she's stuck in survival. So now I think we're under the world of trauma bonding, which it seems to make our way almost every time we do this, where the trauma bond is the same person that gives you the praise, also delivers you the punishment. So then I would worry that it sounds like your wife continues to seek that validation from a mom who is only going to give that validation whenever the mom feels like it's beneficial to her. And advice, there we go. Advice on trauma bond. And secondary trauma, absolutely.
I feel like trauma bonds are kind of what is like put in our minds since we're little. Like, it's in movies and stuff. It's like the idea that like you should want this guy that doesn't want you. No, leave him.
Well, and what's tough,
I did it again, the leave him thing.
Well, what's tough though is the more you really understand the concepts of the trauma bond, I mean, it's we do it without meaning to. Even this is where even a good parent is, they say, hey, you can come talk to me about anything to their kid, but then when their kid does something that the parent gets frustrated with, then the parent gets frustrated and they get really angry. And so, and that alleviates the parent's discomfort, where they're just like, I can't believe you did that. You need to be more careful. You need to not do that. You need to think about things more. And then when that happens, oh, you did. And so when that happens, then the kid,
oh, dang it, you guys saw it.
Oh, on YouTube. And then when the kid feels bad now, so the parent just, basically just transferred their anger, their discomfort, their anxiety to the kid. and now the kid feels bad. So they're going to, I'm so sorry, I won't do it again. Now the parent feels better because they heard what they wanted to. But so then the parent gets to say, okay, but I still want you to come tell me when something happens. But the kid just learned that, okay, that didn't feel very good. And so now the kid's going to start not being as honest because they want the validation from the parent. And so we're almost creating a little trauma bond from the word go, because it's the parents kind of making it about them.
Yeah. And then the parent can be like, oh, I'm such a good parent. My kid is so nice to me. And the kid's like, oh, I'm such a good kid. My parent's so happy with me. But it's like neither of you are like allowing each other to open up in any way, because you're just trying to please one another.
Absolutely. And I like that you put it that way. So here's some signs I think they're important to know that you might be in a trauma bonded relationship. And that's if you have a fear of abandonment. If you feel like I will die if I am alone, and a lot of people feel that way and they think, well, no, of course that's the case. But in a healthy relationship, we go back to that concept of being differentiated, where the goal of a healthy relationship is to have a connection with somebody while learning your independence. Because if you have a secure relationship with somebody, then they're there to support you. They're there to be curious about you. They're there to not to control you and not to put you in that one down position.
Yeah. Like even when like, I feel like it can be hard, like when you're so in love with someone, you're in like that honeymoon stage, like it can be so easy to forget about yourself and like your own needs. But it like, that's like the most important time to like prioritize
it really is
time and like time for yourself, so you don't lose yourself in a relationship.
Yeah. And that's so, and I'll go back to those signs that you might be in a trauma bonded relationship, but some of the signs of trauma bonding, there's a trauma bonding cycle, and there's 7 stages of trauma bonding. The first one is love bombing, where then that is the person just,
I love a good love bomb.
Well, that's what's so crazy. And they talk about trauma bond is it is a bit like an addiction, because
so much fun for a week.
Yeah, that could be
so good,
right? But then that love bombing, or creating a trust or a dependency. So you'll see the person even say, hey, let's go do something. Then all of a sudden they kind of disappear. They leave that, now that person's saying, okay, I'm not sure if I should not do something now because I'm kind of waiting not to hear from this person again. And there's times where that just is, it can happen. But I feel like in this day and age, phones, that sort of thing, it's pretty easy to stay in contact.
Yeah.
Because I've had people.
If you want to text someone back, you will.
Yeah.
Oh, I kind of take that back immediately though, because I used to have the worst.
Used to?
I still am really bad at it. I forget to text genuinely, and then I also used to get like the most crazy anxiety about texting, so I just would never text people. So I actually take back everything. I told you guys I'm only spreading misinformation and lies today.
But I like your honesty though, because I think that's one of the first places that people can start to work with their discomfort is honestly just starting to text people back. Because I do it as well, where I'll think, okay, well, if I text this person back, then they're going to want an answer, and then we're going to have to get in a back and forth. But then the reality is I just created a narrative to justify why I'm not texting that person back. Mm-hmm. But I have to have the courage or the confidence to then, if I text somebody back and then they now want to go back and forth, then I can say, hey, I only have a quick second. I mean, so I'll have to get back to you later. And that's just being honest. And then if that person gets angry, that's where the concept is, well, that's a them thing. And I'm not saying that to be mean.
I used to it was weird. I was constantly 100% of the time people pleasing throughout all of my texting. And it I was causing myself so much anxiety for no reason, because I would always try to answer to make the other person comfortable. So I wouldn't be thinking, what is my answer to the text? I'd be thinking, how can I respond and answer, ask another question back and keep the conversation.
For sure,
it would just be all this stuff. And finally I've just dropped that completely, and I text my friends like a caveman, and it's they know, it's when you have good friends, it's they'll know if it's okay to just stop in the middle of a conversation sometimes. You don't have to have that kind of anxiety. And
because then if you are responding and they have time to, then you're having a moment. And if not, it's okay. Hey, I think that's Nick over here, and he says he feels neglected because he's been commenting on the YouTube live. Sorry, Nick.
It's our guy, Nick.
We see you, Nick. But so we got to the love bombing, trust and dependency, criticism. And this is, I really feel strongly about this, that there isn't a lot of room for criticism in the relationship. There's room for curiosity. You can say, hey, tell me more about why you do that, but not hey, don't do that. I mean, in a relationship, because we're adult human beings. So let's start with a place from curiosity. Mm-hmm. Okay, then Nick, I was switching between you guys and TikTok. Okay, then gaslighting, which is, you making one feel like their reality is wrong, questioning them.
Oh my gosh.
What comes up for you?
This one guy.
Yeah.
Just he would do that. Like he was like, we weren't even dating at all, and like he turned this whole situation. I went out of the country, and he turned like this whole situation on me, saying that like I was cheating on him, and like I
Now
was
you have to
disrespecting
prove that
him.
you're not. Yeah.
Like sending me pictures from like this other girl's story, saying like I was wearing some other guy's jacket, and like me and this guy were never like we were a thing, but we were not exclusive like in any way, and like he knew that. And then he was just coming at me being like, you are a bad person, like why are you doing this to me? And I'm like, what am I doing to you? I didn't even know we were doing anything. And I think that was probably gaslighting.
Oh, it is. And yes. And why I like that your example of that is that now all of a sudden that's why that's the emotionally immature, the narcissistic person, because they now, a way to keep control is to get you to have to defend yourself of something that isn't even true. Because if they can keep you, and I call that, it's a burning of emotional calories, instead of you getting to be and do and have fun on your trip, now you're worried and spending time trying to calm his anxiety.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where a healthy relationship is. Hey, you go and have an amazing time. And
I
then,
should have blocked him the second he sent me that.
That stuff
but
kills
no,
me.
yeah. Then like the rest of the trip, I'm like,
yeah,
I hope he's okay. I wonder why he's mad. Like,
exactly.
I don't care.
And
like,
so you're over having an amazing time. And I feel like that's the emotionally immature response from him.
And all he just like wants me to be thinking about him in any way. So I can't be thinking about anyone else. I feel like that's kind of what it was.
It is, totally. And so then that leads to that next one. Emotional addiction is what, and now when we start talking about addiction, that's why that trauma bond is so difficult, because it starts to become this emotional addiction. And then the next a cycle, the next stage is a loss of self, because instead of, and this is where, I mean, the older one gets, you realize the less time you have spinning on this good old globe. So then if I'm wasting my time trying to prove something that isn't even real to someone that is making me feel crazy, that is a waste of time. Because I could be, I mean, you were you're out of the country. You could have been just having fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the reality was like all he wanted was for me to feel crazy. Like he just wanted to get a reaction out of me. At least that's what it felt like.
Yeah.
Dude, these are all checking the boxes.
They really are,
honestly.
Right? And that seventh stage is resignation and submission. It's just like, okay.
Well, the emotional addiction part, it's like you find yourself being addicted to this person, even when like I knew even while I like was emotionally addicted to him that it was wrong for me and that it was bad and that he wasn't treating me good and that I didn't like him.
Yeah.
But I was still just like stuck for some reason, and I feel like that's kind of what that was.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, well, that's the trauma bond.
And then and then was like that loss of self, because it was like he was constantly coming to me for like all of his needs, and so like every day became more and more about him than it was about me for myself. You know, because it was like, I hope he's okay. I hope
that's so much. Yeah.
You know, and it's like, wow, you really do just like, you think you're in love, but you're just like,
you're being controlled,
losing yourself.
You are. Yeah. Love or control
sad.
In an adult relationship, one or the other. You can't have both. And the emotionally immature person thinks that control is love, because they're so afraid that if they are seen, or if they let you go and be your own independent person, then you will leave, that then they need to control you, or else you will leave them. And it's, I mean, and it's unfortunate, because then that's why and we've talked about it, that human magnet syndrome, where the kind person is going to now, well, I don't want him to feel bad, so now I'm going to spend time trying to assure that that isn't what I'm doing. That isn't the case. And that's all he needs, is like, I just need him. The immature, the narcissist says, I just need you to interact with me to know that I am okay, that I exist. And they're not necessarily engaged in the conversation. Yeah.
And it was so manipulative, because it was like, I knew that he knew what he was doing, but like he just was so okay with doing it. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I think it's like what even and I wish I know I'm probably not saying it right, because you've been so great tonight, Myri. So they subconsciously don't mean to control you. I like that question, because what that question says is that is like, people will say to me, but they know what they're doing, but it's like they're just doing, because that's the air that they breathe. I mean, that's where we go back to emotional maturity, narcissism. It's a childhood defense mechanism from feeling like they had to earn their love as a kid because their parents were modeling that kind of behavior.
Yeah, I think it was exactly that. Like this guy wasn't like inherently a bad person, and that's why it made it even harder to leave him. Because it's like he had like a good soul, but like he just like was not. I don't know.
Yeah,
there was somewhere else I was gonna go with that. I kind of lost my trail of thought.
No, but I appreciate this. I do, and Nick's saying funny things. But there was let me jump over the questions again here. Okay. Mireya. I dig it. Mireya. Okay. Said I had a guy do that. Had a date one time, and they got a text asking if I was in. That's what Sonia said. One time, and then are you in? Right? Have you had that?
No. Well, this guy. I was just about to say his name. Yeah, no, he was a love bomber. I think it was the third time that we ever hung out. He told me that he loved me.
Okay, so that is love bombing.
Like, bro.
I mean, you are lovable. Don't get me wrong.
But not that much. Especially if I'm like on one. Like,
Sleepy Flower's back. Sleepy Flower had the job where she started her first job with OCD. But you got to get to know you. I didn't mean to cut you off. I got excited. So yeah, Sleepy Flower. I don't know if you can tell us, text us. Yeah. Because she was starting a job and she has OCD, and we were talking about inviting it to go along with her, and she's going to deal with some discomfort. And so we are very, very curious about the report. Yeah, I'm very curious. I want to know. And then people saying, Emily says, he is so beautiful. That's so nice. Oh, he says she. Just kidding. She's gorgeous. Her eyes. I'm obsessed with her and her cute style. Okay.
I know you guys are pretty too, just because of how you talk.
I say this. I know you know that where I'm going to go with this one, but you were little, and I was like tucking you in. Do you remember? And I'm like, no. Sid, you're so pretty. You're so beautiful. And he's like, you're handsome too. That's the cutest thing. Aww. Oh, it's like cute. Yeah. Okay, I'm waiting for it.
Probably smelled bad.
Okay, and Daniel sent in the it says GG's time 19. Thank you. And we've never asked for this before, but I know when you hit likes and hearts and those things that it does help us. So thank you for people that do that. I just don't, there's that part where I don't want to be like, smash that thing or whatever, like stuff.
Don't worry about it because TikTok takes.
Okay, while we're waiting for Sleepy Flower to comment. Oh, okay, it's puzzle time. This means we've been on for an hour. Here we go. Oh, come on. What if I got this wrong?
There's no way to get that wrong.
Verification complete. Oh, we can continue. Okay, but I guess let us know when the food is here, though, and then we'll wrap things up. But I want Daniel Green. Can we hear what it has been like to be a therapist daughter?
Horrible.
Honest to goodness.
Just kidding.
Honest to goodness.
I never really noticed it like growing up. I think
probably because you knew what I did.
Well, you weren't a therapist when I was growing up, so I honestly didn't have like that
how old
experience.
Are you?
22.
So, yeah, it was funny because I went back to school when I was in my early 30s to get my master's in counseling. And it's really been the last 10 years that I've been doing it full time.
Yeah, I feel like I remember, and I don't remember anything really, but I just remember seeing pictures of you like maybe you
you guys went to my master. You went to my graduation from a master's degree. Yeah.
I have peanut brain, so
an adorable one. But then what's it been like though since? Because I was a therapist through your high school years. That was where you were giving me a good mental workout. In a good way.
Yeah. No, it's like amazing. Like I couldn't ask for anything better at this point. Like seriously, I don't know if you were fishing for that compliment.
No, now I feel like awkward about it. Truthfully.
No, I'm serious though, because like the way that I like view life is in no way the way that I viewed it like 2 years ago. Like I was a little gremlin idiot. Like you guys, oh my gosh, I have so many like horrifying stories. Like you guys would not have liked me, but
we have fun conversations.
Like you've really helped me to like understand just like how people are,
Yeah. I mean, we're all just trying. We're all doing our best. We're craving certainty. We want validation. We get rid of our discomfort.
And all that stuff. Like I didn't even know that I was craving validation. Like I literally like thought, because I would feel confident. I'd be like, no, I don't need validation. But then like I would like you would say things and I would notice it throughout the day where it's like, oh wait, I'm like totally like my ego is inflated right now.
Yeah.
And it's like noticing that stuff. has made like the best change in my life ever.
Okay. So I go back and visit my parents every couple of weeks. I had a great time with them this last time, but I noticed something that where if there's silence, honestly, and I think I'm being real here, but if there is silence, then I get uncomfortable and I like to fill the silence by telling them about my work or telling them about you guys.
I have that problem too.
Okay. And what's interesting though, is if somebody isn't curious about what you're going through or your situation and you just blurt something out, that is me wanting validation. But then I'm just kind of providing them with this data that then they don't know enough about what I'm even talking about. That then if they even start like looking like, well, why would you do that? And then all of a sudden I feel bad. So here I was craving validation, but then I felt like I'm getting rejection and that makes me uncomfortable. And so then I would get defensive. And so that's a trip when you look at it that way.
And it's almost like you were in a way creating your own rejection.
I was.
Because it wasn't really there to begin with.
There's so much there. Because I mean, I was even looking over a text that my dad had sent us and I never responded to. And I was going to make a joke about responding to text, and going to say, I don't do it all the time either. But where he was talking about watching our video and then he had some thoughts and comments on it. And it was funny because I in a weird way, I was like, well, those aren't the right comments he should tell us. Those were his comments. They were good feedback. But I looked at that as rejection versus my dad's watching our TikToks.
Yeah.
Like, that's incredible. Yeah. You know? Yeah.
And like maybe where he is at in his life, like that's his best way to show that too.
Yeah. And I so appreciate that. As a matter of fact, I've got a whole thing on bullying because he had even talked about, taking what would it be like to talk about some of the things that he thinks maybe some of the people are struggling with, like bullying. And you know what? That's a great idea. So we'll cover that next time, but I've got some stuff. Okay. Sleepy Flower. Thanks. It's gone so well. It's at a cute little local coffee shop. Further proved that OCD is a giant liar.
Yay.
Rise in mental compulsion since starting, hoping it eases as I get more comfortable at work. Oh, okay. OCD attacks what is important, Sleepy Flower. And so that's interesting. That's a great comment because if you're really worried about just the job in general, then it might be that I might not be able to do it. These sort of things. Now I'm doing it. So then OCD says, well, what else have we got? Okay, let's start working on the mental game. Maybe the people are thinking this about you. Maybe you won't do this right. And so at some point, it's just noticing that OCD. Like, there you are. That's adorable. Thanks for being here.
And if you ever feel like bad or nervous about doing your job wrong, just know that I worked at a coffee shop.
You did, yeah.
And
what was that like?
I was absolutely horrible at my job. Horrible.
You told me.
I sent out like completely uncooked meat sandwiches at Starbucks.
At some place.
Oh, no, it was really bad. So just know that you can't be as bad as me. Whatever, as long as you're putting something out there.
Well, that's the funniest thing that you told me, that you sometimes just like, you know what? I'll just give him whatever I can make.
Yeah, every time.
It was a surprise.
So I learned the measurements for my test, but my thing is like, when I study for tests, I study for them like 5 minutes before, shove it all in, so I can forget it instantly after. So I did that, but then it was like, oh no, now I have to know how to make the drinks. And then I was like, I'm too far in, I can't ask anyone for help. So I was like, we're winging it. And it was so fun. It was like a coffee simulator game on your phone.
Okay. Well, it's funny. So before I was diagnosed with ADHD, I just thought that's what everybody did. But people actually do the like, oh, I'm studying and I learn it and I retain it, is apparently a thing. Yeah. That's kind of funny. But if you wait till the last minute, you were just getting that dopamine dump of procrastination. And then I'm fixated on whatever it is. Then I get the test and then it's like, I don't have to worry about it anymore.
I had a good memory. I would be unstoppable.
Okay.
I wouldn't even be here right now. I'd be at the top of the world.
So I believe, Sydney, that as you find your lane, so to speak, and this goes back to, I think, on one of the earlier attempts that we made where then it didn't work. But it's I spent, talking about 10 years I spent in the computer software industry, and I didn't care about computer software. So I didn't care about it. I wasn't reading stories about it. I wasn't watching documentaries about it. And I just was pretending that I cared. And so then I would pretend that I knew things about it, but I thought that's just what you did. But then once I found therapy and things I like, now I actually enjoy reading about it. I like documentaries about it. I like YouTube videos about it. And so I actually remember the things that matter. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So I think as you find your lane, young grasshopper.
So you think I'm just miserable?
No, I'm saying that you're going to find your lane. Okay. Sleepy Flower, I've made many silly mistakes already too. Thankfully, my coworkers are patient and kind. Okay, good. Yeah.
That's good.
Okay, so let's answer a couple of these, and I think
Keep us
it is.
updated.
Yeah, please do. I think it will be dinner time for us, so we will go away real quick. But bruh, any advice for somebody feeling lost in life? Rose, this is incredibly interesting. Followed, thank you, Rose. And then a smiley face. What's the meaning of life, coach? I think I can put two of those together, and I want your thoughts, and then we will go eat our dinner. You ready? I mean, I think that one is when I talked earlier about we have this desire for connection, but also
we
for
answer Nick's question.
what did Nick say? Independence.
Growth
theorist, man, you could have been gazillionaire if you were still with software. Oh man.
Well, he has some questions.
Okay. How often did you refer back to your textbooks for parenting advice? Great question. And Nick called me a handsome therapist, man. Why does therapist daughter have so? Okay. Okay.
You think you've heard the toxic stories? You have not even heard a teardrop of my toxic stories.
Okay, so Nick asked.
You just wait.
Nick asked if I referred back to textbooks for parenting advice. And yeah, I mean, but once I found a parenting technique I liked that made sense, which was this nurtured heart approach, yeah, then I'm gonna read everything I can about it. And I think that's what became really interesting. When you find the thing that you like and it makes sense and resonates, then I think you're more likely to then go after it and remember it. But because the computer stuff, I just didn't care about. So meaning of life and advice for somebody feeling lost in life, and that 100%, in my opinion, is finding out what matters to you, not the things that you think you're supposed to like. Which we call them socially compliant goals. If I'm doing something because I think this is what I'm supposed to do, then my motivation will be weak and ineffective because it goes against me becoming myself. And that's my whole computer industry job, was me thinking this is what I need to do. I need to like this job that I don't like, and I need to care about it, but I didn't. So when you can find the things that you care about, I thought you were raising your hand.
No.
Oh, but do you agree?
Yeah, no, I was going to say something.
Okay, let's do it.
What was the question?
Oh, the meaning of life. No, but finding out like your values and what matters to you, not the things that you think you're supposed to care about or the things that you're supposed to do. So like school, for example, for you, college that's a socially compliant goal, right? Because if you thought, well, I know I'm supposed to, well, that's like a says who. Now, if I'm saying I think it would be a good idea, that is a me thing, and I may think it's a good idea because it helped me. But then does it, were you interested in it?
Yeah.
Right.
And I feel like when people are like, what's the meaning of life? It sounds like so scary, right? But like the actual answer is like the easiest, most peaceful answer ever, in my opinion. It's like, just do, like, find, you get to give whatever meaning to life you want to.
Yeah.
Like, just find whatever gives you peace and comfort. And like, that's what life, it's not about like,
pleasing others
or like being famous or getting rich or like, it's not about any of that, it's just like find what little things make you happy.
Yeah, that's true. That is. Sleepy Flower, thanks for your support. Sleepy Flower, thank you for yours. And so we'll end on that note, because it really is it's so normal to want validation, and it's so normal to want to alleviate discomfort, and it's normal to think that I need to do things that other people tell me to do, because that's the way we start. That is our programming. That is our factory setting. So becoming differentiated is learning what to do with that discomfort, and knowing that everything is a me thing, but in a good way. So if I want somebody to calm down, why do I want them to calm down? Because that makes me feel better. I mean, again, that's just it's a fun exercise to do. Or I don't want that person to feel bad. Why? Because I'm afraid they won't like me anymore. And I have to learn to like myself. There's so much there that we can cover, but I believe our food is here. So Sid.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I feel like you guys, the ghost likes Guns N' Roses.
Why?
Because I was literally just watching a YouTube video on my phone.
Which Guns N' Roses one?
No.
Oh.
I was watching a podcast, and then my phone just switches to, is it My Michelle by Guns N' Roses, and just starts blasting. So I think that the ghost.
Not even one of their hits, like Welcome to the Jungle or
good one.
Sweet Child of Mine.
So yeah, that's
sing that one a little bit. How does that one go?
Your daddy works in Portal.
I didn't think you would do that. That's the highlight of my night. All right. Yes.
What? Oh, I think that's all.
Okay. Okay. Thanks everybody so much. We'll be back again later this week, because I'm in town this week. You're in town?
I'm always in town.
Okay. Oh no. So we'll do this again like Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah. And hopefully it won't break again. Sorry, that was so weird at the beginning.
Yeah. And then get your questions ready. Yeah. We'll be here Wednesday or Thursday. We'll probably do it at 7:30. We'll put the note up there.
I'm going to teach Tony about JoJo Siwa.
Okay. Hey, I never promote this either. Go to my website, tonyoverbay.com, sign up for my newsletter, and then you can also send me questions, and we'll get to them on TikTok or YouTube. Nick, or by Therapist Family. Or I'll do some question and answer episodes on the virtual couch as well. So we want your questions. If they weren't answered tonight, we'll try to get to them as best we can.
You guys are so
Thanks,
cool.
everybody. Have a great night. We'll see you next time. And end. Okay, over here. Bye, Nick.
Bye, Nick. Oh, it's really just Nick. There's one other homie with you, Nick.
No. Okay.
It's not the same anymore. It's crowded in here.
Okay, that was so